Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's going to have to wait. Do a little paper shuffling here. First item, of course, is to approve the agenda of the meeting.
I have the one addition that I mentioned briefly. We have a check to accept from the Canine Association. So
Yep.
just that addition.
Do it.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with that addition.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, aye. Aye. Motion carried. Approve the minutes of the last meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as it looks good.
I will second the motion.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, aye. Aye. Motion carried. Is there anyone this morning that wants to take advantage of the public comment section of the meeting at the beginning? Okay. Thank you. We go to action items. Approve, well, let's see, do we want to, is that one, that's an action item, I believe.
Pardon?
Th-
Yeah,
This
yeah.
this is an action item. Yeah. Do you want to speak to that? We'll just do that
Yeah,
one
we,
first, then we don't forget it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
If you start with that one. The sheriff received a check from the Canine Association, and typically the board makes a motion to accept those donations. So just a simple motion to accept with thanks the donation of $1,500 from the Canine Association.
Okay. Is this on? I guess it is.
There you go.
I would move that we accept with a big thank you a $1,500 donation from the Houston County Canine Association to cover the second half of the lease for Lieutenant Erickson for 2018.
I'll second it. Thank you.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, obviously, nobody. So, motion carried. Now, approve claims, human service, and license center disbursements.
I'll make a motion to approve the claims.
Second.
We just flip back and forth here. We're not used to running on three. Okay. Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Now we have an appointment. Bob Burns and Jim Weezer have both agreed to re-up for another term on the Planning Commission, and they've served in that capacity before and done very well with it. I'm glad to see that they're re-ing up, but we do need a motion.
I'd move to accept them.
I'll second it.
Okay, then discussion. Mr. Burns is up for election in February, so
Yep.
we have to deal with that then.
The procedure on that, as I understand it, is that he has agreed to re-up, and he's done a good job, and so the logical thing to do is to take him, and then if he obviously, if he wins the election in February, he'll have to resign the Planning Commission job, and then it will open, and we'll deal with it at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Research has been done.
I trust that it has.
Okay. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. Approve the Environmental Quality Board 218 Rule Revision Memorandum.
I apologize that Brian is not able to be here to address that this morning himself. He said that a lot of these that come through and get suggested, he doesn't push through to the board, but this is one that he felt was worthy of the board's consideration and signature on. In summary, it's a case of there's already plenty of regulation covering what's being done, and this just adds an extra burdensome layer of regulation without much worth for what it adds. So that's why he pushed it forward for your consideration.
Yeah, I read that through, and no, just another layer of government wants their fingers in it, and it's unnecessary. Jeff, do you know, is there an organization of county engineers that digs into those things and makes recommendations, or did Brian have to?
Yeah, no, that's how it originated. It was sent out as a draft proposal from one of those, from that organization.
Yeah, and then Brian read it through and signed on with that concept that, hey, this really does need to be looked at, and,
Yes.
and we need to
So you
we need to send a letter to the proper person and tell them, no, we really don't like this very well.
Yeah, so the letter's been drafted for the board chair's signature.
Yeah.
So just a simple approve the memo and send.
Yeah, it would, according to what this letter said, for the benefit of the press, according to what the letter is saying, the proposal from the state would add significantly to our costs for particularly bridge projects, and has the potential for delaying some bridge projects. And the stuff that they're proposing to do is already being done by the feds, so it really doesn't make any sense. So, okay,
The letter stated it very well,
yeah,
and it just needs signatures, I see at the bottom,
Yep.
from the board.
yep, okay,
So you need a motion to approve
yep,
the letter,
we need a motion to approve the letter.
the rule revision memorandum?
Yeah,
So
that's what it's called, yeah.
Yeah.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carried.
Just gonna share that
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Approve the Winona-Houston County Detention Center contract for the years 2019, 2020. The only question I have about that is, has the county attorney looked at that and signed off on it?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And the sheriff is here. Mark, what's in there, does that make sense to you operationally?
Yes, it does.
It's the same, is it the same thing we've had before, or are there changes?
No, we put some changes in as far as inmates that require frequent well-being checks for an extended period of time.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear. You put some changes in there as far as what?
As far as inmates that would require frequent well-being checks.
Yeah.
On an extended basis and so forth with that. We also put an exclusion in there to,
It was already on.
that we can, assault of inmates, we can request that they transfer them to a different facility. The main reason for that is if we have one of their inmates that is seriously injured or assaulted one of our staff to the point where they have to seek medical attention, then we really can't have that inmate in our facility longer.
Yeah.
Since it's not our inmate.
Yeah.
So, and Sheriff
Okay.
Leonard has been agreeable to those conditions. Sam and I went back and forth several times with different additions to it or things that he felt that we should have covered. So I feel it's an adequately covered contract.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and well, I guess just in addition, like I said, Sheriff Gannard is agreeable to all the conditions, and I believe they're taking that contract to their board tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay. So we need a motion.
I would move to approve the Winona Houston County Detention Center contract.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. Parcel maintenance contract, approved parcel maintenance contract with Schneider Corporation.
Is this in addition to what we are already paying them in the contract?
Yeah, this is an add-on contract to address specifically the work they've been doing for us on parcel splits and making some database corrections and such associated with parcel split work. It was something that was agreed upon in principle with Schneider before my arrival, and they've been working on the contract language and things. So this is just to put it in place for 2019, and it just allows. They've been doing some of the work anyway under our normal contract, but it's detracting from all the rest of the work that we'd like them to be doing, and they've recommended that we just split it off as a separate action item with them.
So we don't do it in-house anymore, which the auditor's office used to do it, right?
Well, this is going back to fix some of the things that were of issue in certain locations and things when we require the Schneider's expertise on making adjustments and changes. Still, and it doesn't change how we do work
Yeah.
in-house. It just is an extra bit of work that we have them do.
Well, Cindy's here. The Schneider splits, and so that's been working.
Actually, what they're doing for us saves us monumental time. We could do a split in our archaic methods, it could take hours, and they can do it in minutes. Give us the information we need to do our end of it. So, yeah, and, once Michelle gets back to our office, she will be coming back to doing the egg man, portion of that, and we'll be able to do a lot of that in-house, hopefully within the next year, once she gets all the license done. She was doing that, up until having 2 years before we got into this office.
So Michelle will be doing the splits and then sending it to Schneider for what? For,
No,
Putting-
splits are completed in the auditor's office. It's the
so that they pay the taxes
the
ready?
assessment portion of the splits that will be done in-house in our office once the program has been. There's a few items that need to be, there's basically coding in it that needs to be done, and that's what I'll be doing. And then once that's completed, it'll allow us for basically the computer to generate the information needed in the assessor's office to complete the splits on the tax side, or on the assessor's side.
Okay,
Does that make?
I think so. Does the split go on the GIS?
That happens in the auditor's office. and
That
it
happens in-
goes up there.
Okay,
It's the portion of like land values and land types that is happening in the background in the assessor's office that I'll be working on once I return.
okay.
You know, my understanding of this is that there are at least 3 people, maybe more, that have been involved in this situation in studying it and figuring out what's working and what isn't working and what we can do to make it work better and make it work more efficiently. And this is basically what they came up with along with Schneider to get things moving a little faster and make them a little more efficient at this point. That, of course, the auditor's office will be changing some this next year. There might be, I think it's kind of a moving target yet, but this is where we are now. At least that's what I'm understanding on it, so.
So it's an additional 4,000 to the contract. This is another separate contract to the
Yeah,
one
this
we
is
already
a
have.
separate thing, yeah. just to get the situation working better.
Okay.
And
I think the original contract was what, 38,000? Right?
36.
okay.
I have it with me.
Well, I would move that we approve the parcel maintenance contract with Schneider.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Approved contract for court-appointed attorney.
Yeah, we don't have the full contract in place yet. There was one issue I'm waiting for a response from Sam on whether we include. So what I would propose is that we can move forward with that contract is approve it with that amount. There's a $2,500 amount in the tail end of it that we may or may not have to include. I'd like to still work with Sam on the wording for that option. And otherwise, he's done a great job in that role as our court-appointed attorney, and we'd like to continue his service. So I'd recommend that approve contracting with the amount up to $65,000. Double check that.
There's really no alternative to doing this. I mean, so,
Well, the original contract was what, 52,000?
A number of years ago, yes.
And then, so we would be approving, renewing the contract with, what is it, Cuso law firm? And then, with a limit of 65,000.
Yes.
So it could come in less.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to that effect.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Approve 2018-19 salary changes for confidential non-union staff members.
All right, so as the email I sent you before, and we discussed last week, the non-represented folks have a tradition from the board of being treated with the union that they would most closely align to. For the sake of those, it's some of them as being confidential employees are not allowed to participate in union activities. So for the D61 and D62 banded positions, they would follow MAPES 3% for 2018 and 2.75% for 19. And those positions are in the D62 band of the financial director, human services director, information systems director, and our 2 assistant county attorneys. The C41, C42, and C43 positions would follow AFSCME's agreement and would receive 3% for 2018 and 3% for 2019. Those are our long-term care nurse position, our network administrator, IT support technician, public health nurses, staff nurses, and dietitian.
I'll make a motion to approve the salary changes for the confidential non-union staff members.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. approve 2019 salary for elected officials.
That includes 4 of them. And you did, can we do them one at a time? I noticed that the county attorney stated he does not want to raise. And I would make a motion to approve his salary as it exists.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. And we have 3 to go.
And the other one was, recorder has expressed wanting the previous recorders, but after discussion, will accept the guidance of a mid-range step on the C43 band for guidance, which would be 62,000. I'll make a motion to approve the recorder.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried.
And the third one was the auditor treasurer combined office now. We'll continue with the previous auditor's pay and a 2.75 COLA increase. I think she's doing 2 jobs, so I'd make a motion to approve the auditor treasurer request.
So that's 81,411.20.
81,411.
Yeah, 81. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
All right, I'll second it.
That seems eminently logical to me. In all of these positions, including the next one, I feel a little bit handicapped and a little bit frustrated here because we haven't, we've been dealing, the Personnel Committee especially, has been dealing with all year the union contracts, and obviously the union contracts amount to significantly more total cash outlay for the county than these 4 officials. Every percent on a union contract amounts to roughly $100,000. And every percent on these contracts amounts to $1,000 or less. So we really have to put our time in and our money in where it's going to make a difference. And so that's what's been done. Personally, I would like to see a little bit more in-depth research done on the actual how the jobs in this county really compare with the same jobs in other counties. And we simply haven't had a chance to do that. And I would like to see that done in a little bit more depth. You've got to be financially responsible on it too, because you can't spend $10,000 doing research on a $1,000 item. Doesn't make sense. So there's always a trade-off, but that's kind of where I'm coming from on those 4.
Well, we have to
So-
set the salaries today.
Yeah,
if
we've
I
got
stand
it. We've
to,
got to do it.
But we could do the
Yeah.
research for next
Yep.
December.
For
in
next time.
advance.
There'll be potentially a little bit more time to do that sort of thing, and so that's my observation, that within financial reason, we need to possibly get a little bit more information. But in any event, we've had a motion and a second. We need to vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed, motion carried.
And then the last one is the sheriff, and he actually is he's actually asking for a 3% increase from 2018, or he also would consider just doing the 2.75. After looking at our budget, I was going to suggest we do a 2% increase instead of the 3% at this point, since that was basically budgeted when we set our preliminary. So I'll make a motion to do a 2% increase for the sheriff.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? I had my discussion on the last one, so I'm done. Any other discussion? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay. Approve 2019 levy resolution.
One more, the commissioner's salary.
Commissioners?
Oh, yes. Sorry about that.
Okay.
We do need to be paid a little bit too, I suppose. I don't know. Would it, if we ignored it, it would simply remain the way it has been.
And we have to do an action on
Yeah.
it.
We still have to do an action.
I think we
Okay.
should go for a 5.
Sorry about that.
I was looking at 10, but I'll make the motion that the commissioners receive no increase for the upcoming year.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Now I've got all those covered. Okay. Approve 2019 levy resolution.
All right. And the budget, of course, goes along with that, and I'll invite Carol up to help with any discussions and questions you may have on the two. On the trifold chart that you have in front of you, there are, as you've seen before, there's the budget levy in the left-hand column, and then the middle column has a couple of adjustments that are some pending budgetary issues that we'd like the board to consider and approve. One of those is a part-time position for clerical assistance in the attorney's office to help cover some hour shifts there. And the second one is a part-time clerical position in the sheriff's office. And you see a 0 there because the clerical position in the sheriff's office is actually funded through the conceal and carry budget item. So we get the money that comes in for the conceal and carry licenses is fenced money that can only be spent on specific things. One of those would be the this clerical position to manage that program. And so with the budget with those two adjustments, we're looking at a 5.28% levy increase, which is down from our 6.9% preliminary levy.
Repeat that, please. The last sentence.
Yeah. So right now the levy works out to a 5.28% increase,
Okay.
down from our preliminary 6.9.
Okay. Well, I would, first of all, say thanks to those who worked, I know diligently, to reduce the initial 6.9, was it, to 5. However, based on discussions we've had here on a couple of occasions about Houston County still being a rather rural, a mainly rural county, and some of the stress that has been widely publicized about the farm economy and some specific predictions for Houston County, I would make a motion that we levy 2%, and that fund balance be used to make up the deficit to bring it to 2%. I've had discussions with Carol as to the impact that would potentially have, and I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, Carol, but you indicated you'd have a comfort level with 2%. And so that's my motion.
I'll second that. I also met with Carol about the same discussion too, and because I was thinking we probably needed the 4% and use fund balance, but Carol did reassure me that we have enough in fund balance to do a 2%. So I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Carol, would you
Carol,
like?
can you iterate how much of the fund balance that amount is to take us to 2%?
It's, if you look down below the levy, it shows what our budget
Yeah.
deficit would be with the 2% levy increase, and that's $397,418.
But if we do the middle column with the
It's gonna be 422.70.
422,
Depending on.
which is what we're considering, because the sheriff's office would get their clerical position without a salary budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, the attorney's office would only have that 0.5. So I think we'd be using 422,000 for fund balance to make up the difference for 2%.
Eric had a question.
Okay, been answered then. Yeah, okay, thank you.
I did second it.
Yeah. Any other questions or discussion? Carol has clarified it for us.
Where does that leave us in the percentage to keep a reserve?
Are we still at 45% in the reserve funds?
45 to 60%, we were calculating it at 50%, and that amount, I'm opening that spreadsheet.
So to meet the auditor's standards, we would still have enough left over in the fund balance.
I'm having to.
This-
We would. It's not, my spreadsheet isn't opening.
She's saying she would, that her spreadsheet's not opening.
Using the 50% operating cost, or operating reserve, the county has 7.348 million in reserve. A big portion of that is highway department. But looking at our financials and how we'll come in at the end of 2018, I believe we are going to probably increase that slightly. If we're looking at the 45% reserve, which would be my recommendation to move that based on cash flow comparisons that I've done, then that amount would be 7.922 million that we have in reserve. And I can print these for you.
Thank you, Carol.
Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Now, approve 2019 budget resolution.
what is our budget? Originally, it was what, 32,000? I mean 32 million.
Hey, don't I wish?
Sorry. That's what $40.
Some zeros missing there.
Yeah, there is. And what is the budget, resolution at this time?
Slowly, yeah.
I have the one from the preliminary when we set it,
I
our
think
budget,
it's in
operating budget.
presentations in the room.
But it must have went down.
There's something going on electronically.
Yeah, the internet, the Wi-Fi in here is a little slow today.
I
so
never
it's
got to
taking
that
a moment.
page, so. I'm sorry. We were dealing with a technological problem at this end of the table. So, yeah, okay.
Okay.
So our total budget will be 32,623,788.
Okay. Say that one more time, Carol.
32,623,788.
Okay.
Bless you.
Okay, so you need a motion to approve our operating budget for 32,623,788. Right? Correct, okay. So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Carol, just sometime here in the near future, would you look at what our budget was 10 years ago and give me that information?
Okay. Anything else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Approved 2019 meeting schedule.
That's just on the agenda. It's still, you tabled it to the first meeting of the year, so
Yeah.
no further discussion there then?
Yeah, so we don't need to deal with that today at all. Okay. Consent agenda, administrator actions.
Yep. Four HR actions this week. We've affirmed the resignation of Michael Olson, our lead jailer dispatcher, effective the end of the year, with thanks for his 18 years of service to the residents of Houston County, and therefore approving initiating a competitive search for replacements. Approve the assignment of Steve Garrett from deputy sheriff to investigator with pay rate change, effective, and that should be January 7th. I have a typo there, so effective 7 January. And then approve initiating a competitive search for a part-time administrative position for the conceal and carry program in the sheriff's office, and we will, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
14 hours. Yep, sorry, I've got another correction there on the part-time administrative assistants. That's up to 14 hours a week, not 16.
Is that for the sheriff's?
Yes, that's the one for the sheriff's office, and then in January with the budget that you've approved, we'll come back with the hiring or the competitive search for the county attorney's position.
Okay, I just have a question since Mark's here. There's got to be a finite number of people who want to concealed carry, and I'm not debating that it's been a lot, and that therefore the need for the person to take care of it, correct?
Correct.
What-
Well, to actually take over some of Carrie's duties because a lot of her time is delegated.
Okay. What happens if there's a precipitous drop in requests? Are we tied to this?
I don't anticipate that because we always have annual renewals as well that happen.
Okay.
But even if that was the case, I think there's a substantial amount of money in that fund that is very limited of what it can be used.
Okay.
So I don't see a shortage there. I guess also though, in full disclosure,
Tess, did you have a comment?
Just a comment, and also the flexibility in this position as, you know, this is up to 14 hours. So there's no commitment for 14 hours, so the sheriff has that flexibility on an as-needed basis.
Okay,
Yeah. That helps, thank you.
yeah,
At the end of November, there was $155,478.
Permit to carry.
I thought you were gonna say there were that many requests for permits.
But I talked to Carol, I also believe it will actually transfer to a bit of a savings for us in salary.
It will.
Well,
Well, we're gonna, yeah, we'll get that worked out.
specifically for permit to carry uses. That's it. Yeah, you can use it to upgrade equipment that is used for permit to carry, things like that, salary, expenses, office supplies that are utilized for permit to carry. Outside of that, it's still just those areas.
Mark, is that, fees collected from the permits? Or does that come from Homeland Security directly?
No, it's fees collected for processing.
Mark, how many permit to carry requests do we get in a year? Approximately.
I don't have that number on top of my head today, but I can certainly give you that information. I know like 2 years ago, we had like 400. This year it is down slightly, but then like I said, there's also renewals.
Yeah. It's an annual renewal that involves a significant amount of paperwork each year then.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not annual for the permit holder, but it's annual for us because the permit to carry is good for 5 years.
Okay.
But we always have a certain number of people that are renewing every 5 years.
Yeah, I understand.
Ends up
So do you have to do background checks on each one of them?
Yes,
Each year?
yes.
Yeah, are continually doing background checks, but do you do a background check on each permit to carry person every year, or do you do it on the 5-year renewal cycle?
On the 5-year renewal.
Yeah, that's what I
We
thought.
also have to check their record to make sure that they haven't been convicted of a
Yeah.
disqualifying crime.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. That clarifies that.
So do you need a motion on that separate?
Just to approve the consent agenda items. Yeah, you've already approved the position separately in the budget discussions.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can,
So we don't need a motion at this point then. Yeah. Okay.
Just the approval of the consent agenda items.
yeah. And I would move to approve the consent agenda, and just for information, included in that is the Wildcat use and fees ordinance and the Bob Botcher Park updates, which we worked on through committee and have been approved.
Yep.
So my motion would be to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any further questions or comments?
I want to make one comment on these positions that we approve based on grants or based on money coming in, that if that money goes away, that position would go away. I think we have, in the past, even in the public health department, they'll hire somebody based on a grant, and when the grant goes away, that position also should go away, unless we want to, I don't know. We'd probably have to discuss each individual case, whether we're gonna put them on
Whether we-
salary.
Yeah.
Okay, just
Yeah.
comment.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't sound like permit to carry is gonna go away.
Right.
Probably not.
But
Okay. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Discussion items.
I didn't have any extra meetings, but I did, see our chairman's letter in the Argus about our tax assessment. But I also noticed it wasn't in the Houston County News, which is our district, and I see it's on the city's agenda to send us a letter about assessments. Did you see that from Bill Waller?
I didn't.
And I was thinking maybe we should send what Chairman Arnold put in to the mayor of La Crescent and the administrator. I think their meeting is the 27th, right? This week? And I just noticed, I always look at their agenda to see if there's something you or I should be there for. And that was one of the things on their agenda. A letter to us.
Okay, so
No.
so your
Jeff,
letter I did.
Jeff and I spent significant time working on this, and he was distributing things to the news media that we felt was applicable to it, and
I
so.
sent it to multiple sources. I'll have to follow up on
Okay.
that one in particular, make sure I've got the right contact and
I know
getting
it
it to the
wasn't
right
in
folks.
the Houston County News this past week.
I can stop and talk to Bill Waller.
Okay.
And I did,
Copy of the,
I may have missed it, but I didn't see it in the Spring Grove paper last, it's there now. Okay. The previous issue I read, the last one I didn't get all done yet, so, okay,
I
thank
think it'll
you.
be in this week, but it'll be after their meeting. That's why I brought it
Yeah, and
up.
if you wish to share the other email I sent and shared with you, with the
You know, I
city,
didn't get that one for some
city
reason,
folks, you're
Jeff.
welcome to. Okay.
If you wouldn't mind sending it to her, or and Jack can actually, you're gonna see Bill,
Yeah,
okay?
You'll resend it
Or
to him.
Mike
Okay.
Hellinger.
Yeah.
I just think they should know about it
Yeah.
before their meeting.
Yeah, and that was in reference to, at one of their last meetings, they made, well, the comment in the news article was that the county taxes were costing the average La Crosse citizen an additional $1,000 a year. And, you know, I'm not I can't find where that number came from. I have split the proposed tax levy information up lots of different ways, and it doesn't work out. I don't see where that numbers work out to that. When you separate out the assessed values and look at those properties that had no assessed value changes, in the greater La Crescent area, the total tax value went up about $200 average there, of which 100 was the county, and that was based off of the preliminary 6.9% levy. So of course that number will now be lower with the 2% increase. So I don't know where that number that they had came from. It was
Okay.
now, of course, the majority of folks that will see changes in their tax amount again comes back to changes in assessed values, and that's a separate topic in discussion.
Yeah.
Okay.
And one of the issues in La Crescent is sales. I mean, there are some rather highly priced homes that have sold, and that impacts the surrounding homes, whether they're living in a expensive house or not.
Right.
They get a bump. So, but I'll see after the meeting, and
Okay.
then I'll take information to talk to Bill Waller.
Okay, yeah, and their meeting is the 27th,
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
Yep.
Anything else, Teresa, or should I
that's it.
begin?
Go ahead.
No, the only meeting I had between the last one and now was the state auditor came down, and Carol, all the financial people of the county were at the table, and it was I guess you could call a routine visit each year to discuss how we're doing in terms of checks and balances. And every year some of the same things are highlighted that they'd like to see us change, but then she said, also adds, I understand the size of the county and the inability to have that much staff to check and counter check and so forth. And so I would again say overall we had a very satisfactory visit. Would you concur?
Right, and it's the planning meeting, so that we get together the information that we're gonna
that's it.
What are some of the corrections that they're suggesting? Not specific.
Actually, if you look at the financial statement that's on the website, the back of it shows issues that have been noted. And probably the most significant is the segregation of duties. In order to maintain protection from fraud and accurate reporting. We don't have enough employees to separate everything. There are some other issues that come up, but if you look in the back, that shows the items that they cite.
That's all I've got, Fred.
I think that every school district in this county that goes through the same type of audit has the same type of notations at the end. It's just one of those things. We're comparatively quite small. Our budget is 32 million instead of 320 million, and so we give thanks for that, and we'll take our minor lumps on notations at the end of our financials from the state and be pleased, I think. I wasn't at any formal meetings this week, but I probably should, being that this is the last meeting of the year, make a couple of comments. Been an interesting year to be chair. We've had quite a bit of change in the county over the last year, and how to phrase it, I'm very grateful to the rest of the board and to the staff. We've had, with changes, there have been assorted problems, and people have stepped up and done a really, really nice job of keeping things moving and getting those transitions done, and done very, very well. And I thank them for that. And it's been an enjoyable experience being chair of this board. Thank you.
I would like to comment on your comment, and that's thank you for doing what I think was a yeoman's job as chairman. Put a lot of time in, did a lot of scrutiny, study, and so forth, and so I think you did an outstanding job. And also would like to say thanks to the empty chair next to me. Justin was passionate about what he did, and I enjoyed working with him, and look forward to working with Eric Johnson in this coming year. So I think, again, echoing what Fred said, we had challenges this year, but I think overall we came through it well. And I would just have a question, and maybe you have the answer, completely different subject, but we had, I forgot to mention, we did have the Skype meeting with Organic Valley discussing solar. I think it was a very good meeting, and but my question is, there's supposed to be somebody coming that Tess has spoken to. Do you know what meeting that is? Michelle, did she give you any indication?
Not in that loop, sorry.
Okay.
Is Jeff aware of that? There's a meeting that's scheduled with a visiting expert of some sort with the city on this solar panel idea, and we're supposed to be getting some information out of that or from it, or meeting with that person, whatever.
Yeah, aware of that, and we'll get the details
Do you have a date?
posted. Not off the top of my head, no.
Okay.
Just a moment. I may have it.
Fred's checking his electronic.
I'm checking my, no, it's in the next year, and I didn't write down very much stuff for next year, so
Okay.
the electronics have failed me again. Okay. Yeah, all three of us were at that solar panel meeting. Jack is the one that remembered to talk about it. Very good meeting, very informational. We are, if you weren't at the meeting, there will be no working, apparently, of the county with Organic Valley on that particular project. They simply don't want to add any more to what they're doing than they're already doing. So it was strictly informational, and it was a lot of stuff that I hadn't been really aware of. So very helpful, and we hope to get some more information as to what might actually be practical for the county to do in that respect at the meeting with that will be coming up with the Caledonia people, the person that they've got coming. So, okay. Any public comment at the end of the meeting? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say thank you to the two of you board members. I think we did well this year.
Thank
you.
you. We've done well in that we have survived. Okay. There is one more motion to be made in 2018.
I would move to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. We are officially adjourned for the year. Thank you.